had our fill of a little post-mortem. The baseball stuff is simple. I think MLB should be ashamed of itself. Teams like the Tigers, the Tribe, Yankees, Mets, etc., these cold weather teams opening up the season a week earlier, all at home. It's nonsense. Today's game, there wasn't 1,000 people in the stadium, nor should there have been. It was an atrocious product. The weather contributes to it. You're not going to go out there and be able to play this sport the right way when it's like this. You're just not. And it's not fair to you, the fan, and it's not fair to the teams. And the Tigers are an already bad product who are just made to look even more ridiculous. As far as Michigan goes, listen, I told you, there is not going to be a saucy take here. I lived your nightmare. I lived it in 2009. All right, I've seen the movie. It's a great story. You make it. You get to the final. We talk about ways to get it done. We know it's an uphill battle. And then you go and you get butchered. It happened to State against North Carolina right here in the D, and it happened to you last night. There's no shame in it. If I make fun of U of M, I'm just as bad as the bozos who came calling for Michigan State when State made it to the final. I can't do it. There's no shame in getting beat pretty bad when the other team is just that good. I mean, look, we talked about Villanova and how, styles make fights, and Villanova's got more styles than you've got fight. They can just do it more ways than you. DiVincenzo is definitely the story. He's their sixth man. He's the sixth man of the year. But the truth be told, he's a starter. He's the third leading scorer. He's their Mo Pete. And the kid had a really big night. You can't even work your way around it and go, well, if DiVincenzo doesn't play that way, we win the game. You can't do that. Nova's starters, I think, combined for like 17 points. Jalen Brunson got in foul trouble. They're just better. There's no shame in it. I don't think it takes away from Michigan's season. I'm not going to sit here. And I'll tell you this, I've warned you last couple of weeks about this. And if you want to take me to task on it, we can do it. But understand going in, I don't want to hear a word about Michigan's path to the final and trying to take away from what they did. There have been years that MSU did heavy lifting, and then there were years they didn't. I don't want to hear it. We lost to a broke bleep 11 seed. At home. Do not talk. Take the medicine or you become what you loathe. Don't do it. I don't want any butthurt Spartans. Michigan won the games. You don't choose who you play. This ain't college football where you choose your schedule. They played who's in front of them, and they beat them. Period. Last night, they ran into the best team in America. They didn't have enough in the tank. I think that's one of the main stories, too. Michigan looked tired. They looked really gassed. And I want to go more specific with that. And I'm not attacking the kid. I'm not. But I will tell you, for as much daps and praise as Wagner gets for the passion he plays with, I really think he psyched himself out. And then Nova got in his head. To start the game, Wagner came out with his hair on fire. He was so emotional and energetic all over the place. I almost think he just gave you the kitchen sink early. And then he was exhausted. Then there was the tie-up with the basketball and yelling and screaming. And the next thing you know, Wagner was not the same player the rest of the night. The jawing with the officials, the jawing with the players, 2 offensive fouls, the double technical. He allowed his emotions, I think, to tax himself physically and mentally. Kind of took himself out of that game. If you're going to play on the razor's edge emotionally, that's the downside of it. Now, the other problem is you put Xavier Simpson out there. Yeah, I know on the box score it looks sweet when he goes like 3 of 6 from the floor or whatever it was. Truth be told, Nova was able to front Wagner because nobody has to guard Simpson on a perimeter. That really hurt you. Bad. Duncan Robinson getting his second foul killed the spacing. That hurt you really bad. And yes, DiVincenzo came in. Kid's their third leading scorer. He had one of the best games of his life. Played unbelievable. That's part of the anything can happen quotient. Early, it looked like the total recipe. You took away the three-point line. You made Nova work. You got a few turnovers. You were able to get out, get up 8. You felt like, okay, this is good. The problem, Nova took the punch, gathered, and they just have more good players than you have. And they have more ways to get you than you got to get them. And it really came down to what we talked about yesterday. I don't worry about your defense. I don't think you played bad defense last night. DiVincenzo and Mikal Bridges hit a couple of really, really tough shots. But overall, it was your offense that was your undoing. You're not a good offensive team. You didn't have a good offensive tournament. You had the one sunshine afternoon against A&M, and you knew that wasn't the real you, and you knew you probably weren't going to find your way back to that. We talked about a race to 70. You know, Michigan hadn't broken 60 while Nova was over 70. Game's over. You're not going to play from behind, make a huge comeback. Not against Nova. They're too good offensively. And remember, Brunson did not have a good game. I didn't think Amari Spellman was any good last night, especially defensively. Pascal did not play great. It is what it is, man. Like, this is the problem. They have too many good players. DiVincenzo could start for almost anybody. And understand, he played starter minutes last night, too. You got to look, he's a sixth man of the year in the Big East. He's a kid that if I lined up all 350 Division I programs, he probably starts for 344 of them. But Jay Wright, he pulled all the right levers. And I don't think as a Michigan fan you shouldn't be embarrassed. I don't think you should take any guff from your Spartan friends, because if your friends are talking bleep, they're losers. Honestly, any Spartan talking trash right now to a Michigan fan who's a real fan, one of the few real Michigan basketball fans, you're a loser. We let Jim Boeheim pick his nose and then put his finger in our mouth. And you're going to talk to that team who made the national title game? Please. You're just as bad as the losers who talk trash to you in 2009 when we lost to one of North Carolina's better teams in the last 30 years. Michigan had a great year. They reestablished themselves as a legitimate basketball program, as the program in the state, and truly kind of announced that they are now relevant again. A 6-year run where it's bookended by championship appearances. A 6-year run with 3 or 4 Elite Eights. So, no, I don't. If you're tuning in expecting me to play fart jokes and Rod Allen drops, I'm not doing it. Because I respect the hell out of what they did. And it's sure as hell better than what we've done lately. And yes, remember, if you're a Spartan fan, you know what Michigan's feeling right now. We lived it in 2009. UNC decapitated us. So that's the deal. There's not going to be some, fart noise theater. Not doing it. I'll talk about the game with you. I'll talk about kind of what went wrong. I mean, we can do all of it. But overall, there's no one thing to point your finger at. You lost to a team that's just better than you. They're better than you. They played better than you. They got better players than you. And one of those players stepped up and had a really tremendous game. And that's it. I mean, the only side note, not that you care about it because this is not a college basketball town, but at this current point, Jay Wright has now announced himself as a lock top 5 coach in the country. And I know, national title, first-round exit. National title, first-round exit. I know. But there's only a handful of guys that are active that got multiple national titles. Jay Wright's one of them. He's got more titles than Tom Izzo. He's got more titles than Bill Self. He's got more titles than Jim Boeheim. I'm just going top of my head here. I can't hear you through plate glass, Michael.
John Calipari.
John, yeah, more titles than Cal. Jay Wright is legit, man. And I've made fun of him in the past. As much as I like him, I do think he runs a good program. I think he's like Beeline and Izzo. They do it the right way. Jay Wright's got a machine. They have built a machine. And here's the one thing I would say. If you're a Michigan fan, you're already ahead of the game because your coach is in the 21st century offensively. If you're a Spartan fan, I want you to understand something. What you saw last night offensively is where basketball is and where it will continue to go. Space it and shoot it. MSU better figure that the bleep out. Modernize or continue to fail. Nova's out there playing like the Warriors and the Rockets. Positionless. Space it, shoot it. Drive it, shoot it. That's where basketball is. This idea, I mean, look, when Nova gets double-teamed or Nova gets in a tight spot, there is room galore. How come Michigan State doesn't look that way? Everybody bunched up, bumping asses, tripping over each other. We don't have a guard who can drive. I'm telling you. Jay Wright right now, if you're a high school recruit, he plays the most attractive style in America. Can you imagine Mikal Bridges pulling up with that shot? Izzo would have come on the court and ripped his hair out. Contested three, up by 12, 4 minutes to go. There is something to it. Those kids play loose. They play free. He checks them when necessary. And he knows Brunson will coach that team on the floor. But they play really, really appealing basketball. And whether it was Archie Diacono, Scotty Reynolds, what was it, Ochuwu or whatever, they had the twins who played there. He's done this now for a stretch. And now he's getting better players. I'm just telling you, that's where MSU needs to go. You don't need to copy it, but you better get closer to that. Before you go to the big box store for your next TV or